He was looking at me that last night as if to say, yeah, I'm Michael Jackson. I got this. He was killing it. If I'm feeling a certain way and I'm feeling a certain thing, I'm going to express that to you.
Yeah.
The artist is going to come back, and then it's just going to be iron sharpens iron at that point.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk and work it out or not.
Go. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I have an amazing guest for you today. One of the most brilliant people in music, one of the most accomplished. He's played with over 500 artists. Count it. Even 50 would be a lot. Now 10x that. Put Michael Jackson on the list. Put Lady Gaga on the list. Put Madonna on the list. Put Herbie on the list. Put whoever you want on the list. Okay. He's already done it. It's already done. Now where do we go? Okay. We go all the way to Michael Bearden. Yes.
Yes.
We did it. We scheduled this.
Yes. We finally got it in, man. Good to see you.
Good to
How
see
are
you too, man.
Yeah.
Between both of our schedules, really hard to make this happen.
It was really, we're talking about years.
we were texting.
Yeah.
Next week? No. Gone for a month. Okay. Try it in a month.
Yeah. It's all good. I'm happy to be here, though.
Michael's one of the most accomplished musical directors ever. And everything from the biggest artists like Michael Jackson and Lady Gaga, we're talking about both of them. I have questions specific about that, but also like, Emmy nominated for the halftime show with Gaga. You've done the Oscars many, many years. Grammy. You've done like everything. Your bio is ridiculous, dude. It's too long, honestly. I had to have ChatGPT summarize your bio, bro. I was like, I can't even finish. I can't read a book this long. So, but one thing I want to specifically ask you about, because we'll go into the depth of your musical direction and your approaches and everything. But one thing that I've noticed in particular with Lady Gaga is that you've been with Gaga for years, right? You've been
12 years now.
12 years being her musical director. But there's one other thing that I've noticed when I see a lot of like footage or photos or anything or just like your vibe together is it seems like Gaga really trusts you and is obviously 12 years of working together. She trusts you musically, but it seems like she finds comfort in you.
Yes, that's an amazing thing to observe.
And so my question is, how do you make an artist feel safe?
Wow, great question. The first thing you have to do to make an artist feel safe is be able to execute their vision in the way that they want it. But the other thing is you also have to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. So, for instance, if they tell you their vision of I want to sing this, and it should feel like this. This is what I'm going for, and then I will say something like, okay. Do you want a different arrangement of it? Should I make it faster? Should I add this or should I add that? So I'll backtrack into the first time I worked with her, and this will explain how you make an artist feel comfortable. So when I first started working with her, I got a call from her people, and they were looking for somebody to arrange and help her with Obama's second inauguration, and she was going to sing at this big gala event and all that. And so they called me, and then they put her on the phone. And she goes, "Hey, Michael, this is Lady Gaga. I hear you, the man." I was like, "Well, thank you." And then she goes, "Yes, I have this song. It's called Born This Way," as if I never heard it. I was like, "Yes, I know it." And she said the most amazing thing. She says, "Can you make it sound presidential for me?" And right away, that was just a challenge for me musically. I was like, wow, okay. I'm not going to the phone like, okay. I said, well, what does that mean to you? And she goes, well, whatever that means to you. So I go, well, I always like orchestra. I conduct orchestra and arrange and all that. Do you hear orchestra on that? She said, let me hear it. Like, surprise me. Let me do. So I came up with an arrangement, and we had a pre-recorded so she could hear it and play to it and all that type of thing. So I went, I think I recorded that here in Los Angeles. I'm trying to remember. I think it was at East West. got an orchestra, did it, and I played it for her on the phone. She says, "That's great. Can you put drums on it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, let me find a drummer." I ran around the studio actually, and I'm sure you know who he is. Matt Chamberlain was in the studio that day recording with somebody, and I was like, "Matt, can you come throw a drum?" He doesn't even remember this. I told him at some session we did, after that, and he didn't even remember because it was so fast that he just like threw drums on there for me. And so then I flew to DC and got the orchestra together, and then Tony Bennett was also on that show, got the big band together, conducted everything, and all Gaga had to do was come in, sit down, and play. And right away she was like, she said, "Who are you?" She said, "I've never just come in and sat down and played, and it was exactly what I was envisioning."
Amazing. And
so that's how you right away, just from our first meeting. And that wasn't the first time we met. We actually met at a birthday party for Bill Clinton at the Hollywood Bowl. And it was a lot of acts on the show, and I was playing with Stevie and
Stevie Wonder.
Ever
heard of him?
Yeah, Gaga was on the show, and I met her then. So that was in our first meeting for Obama's inauguration. But that's how you kind of get in and just get them to trust you, because she had a vision. I was able to execute that, and then over the years we just worked in so many different configurations together and different things that she wanted to do. And what I really love about her is, she's a sponge. She just, whatever it is that she wants to do, she knows how to do. And if she doesn't know, she'll learn about it, but she's like a unicorn, man. Like, she can do anything, as far as directing and, shots and making shots and just plotting things and lighting and just, music and whatever it is that she wants to do, she stretches all my musical skill sets, which is really, really great. So over the years, we just, built this trust and this, comfort and respect of each other together over all these years.
So there's one thing about her feeling safe musically, and that's her trusting you musically. But what about just her feeling safe as like a human with you?
She is a star. Yeah. She's a mega star.
Yeah.
And the way I treat all these stars that I've worked with over the many, many years is just like human beings. So if I'm being asked to do a job, I go in and I do my job, and I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And, I'm not, look, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. And I'll just like, okay, you're right about that. But I'm going to speak up and let you know what I'm feeling about what's going on. And then the way I handle her, off stage is like, every artist needs boundaries. So we do what we do on stage, and then we talk, and she'll invite me into her dressing room and we'll speak and, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, artists need their own boundaries, and so do we. Yeah. We need our boundaries, and I never like to invade her space and let her know. And so I think over the years, she just saw that and just kept inviting me in more and more and more. And, of course, I've been to her house and just we spent New Year's together, which was amazing, and I wasn't even expecting it. And it was beautiful. It was just really intimate setting, and just we brought in a New Year together, her and her boyfriend and friends and things. But
that's nice. So you don't push yourself in. You're not like trying to get closer to the artist. You just do you, and are like, let them be, but do your job and let them invite you in.
Let them invite you in. Yeah. And like I said, all the time you don't want to be around the people you work with. Yeah. Not that she's lovely. She's amazing. Yeah. I mean, she brings her parents on the road with us.
It's amazing.
That's quite amazing. It's very family with her. And so, just like I think the beauty of what I've done my whole career is just, when I've been around all these people, is you see what you want to have for your own life and you see what you don't.
Yeah.
And so I don't really seek the limelight as far as wanting to be around the stars all the time. Yeah. And so I think if you're just natural around them, they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's how that goes.
Yeah, just treat them like people. Come on.
Look, they're extraordinary people, yes. But you just treat everybody like a human being, like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And it usually works out.
Yeah, it's really. I feel like when I've seen you with Gaga, I feel like I have a very similar, what seems like a very similar relationship with Christina Perri. I was her musical director for years, and but we're still best friends. And like, but I feel like in the how would I say this? Like the way in which I see her comfort in you, around you, and everything. I feel like that's because, especially to a star or any influential person, whether it's in business or whatever, there's always too many yes people. They're always second guessing like who actually is friends with me or who actually cares about me.
Right.
So I think like she has that safety in you, right? Like it seems.
Yeah. I mean,
it's 12 years also at this point. You're building over such long time, and you've been able to retain her, as a client. Like she's kept you for so long,
I'm so grateful. I love working with her, and also her choreographer Richie Jackson. The three of us together, it's just magic.
Yeah.
And as an artist, which is what we are as well.
Yeah.
You just love working with people who just can execute their visions and realize their dreams. And, as I say to my artists that I work with, let's go out and move souls.
Yeah.
And Gaga absolutely does that.
Oh,
and you just like being around that. You just love to create with creative people.
Yeah.
And the chemistry we all have together is just magical, as I keep saying. And I love being around that because that's why you get in this business, is to do that.
With you being the music director, putting together the show, the arrangements, etc., all that stuff. Everyone on our show knows what a musical director is, right?
That's so great for me, Elmo, because you know how many times I have to explain what a music director does to people.
That's because you're like famous, so then therefore you get interview opportunities that are like just hitting general consumer. Okay. And then they're like, so what is a musical director? Right? Yes. So in case you don't know, music director does that, directs the music of the show, puts together the vision, and executes it, builds the band, etc. So when you're doing it with Gaga, since you're a director, who are the other directors that are putting together the creative side? It's you and her, the choreographer. You said, is it really just
the lighting, the staging, production manager? There's always wardrobe is big with her.
Yeah.
Her hair and makeup and whole glam team. And
so it'll be like what, 7 kind of heads
trainers,
of people, the trainers. We got to get her to there.
It's there's always security because she's very famous.
Yeah.
There's a whole, world around her.
Yeah.
That goes, but as I say with all the artists, everything starts with the music.
Yeah.
Depending on what her vision is and what she's putting out to the audience and to the public, or what she wants to do, everything has to really start with the music. Like you can't choreograph anything if there's no music. You can't light anything. Like everything starts with the music.
Yeah.
And so, we go with that. And then with her, which is what I actually really love, she's so hands-on with it. Like she'll take out her notebook. She does notebooks. And that's the through line to a lot of the greats that I've worked with, is that their attention to detail.
Yes.
The detail is what I love about working with her. Her detail is extraordinary. So she'll have her books and she'll write, I'm writing because she's left-handed, like her left hand, and so she'll have her vision and explain to all the departments what she wants. And then we, start with what the music may look like as far as the set list. And that always changes because we get into a flow of what the vision looks like, but then what it actually may turn into. So, there's a lot of drafts.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Drafts. Like one draft, we may end up to 27.
That's so great. And that makes, when the artist actually has a vision, that makes your job even easier.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I prefer it.
Yes.
Yes.
So these notebooks, so Gaga's doing these drawings. Is it like stage drawings? Is it wardrobe? What is it?
All of it.
Wow.
It's all, so I remember being at her house one time, and it was just me, her, and Richie. I think everybody had left, and we were still working. And we were just talking and just getting back and forth about, just going, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm sitting right next to her and I watch her. So we mentioned a stage piece, And I watch her, she's like, maybe it should look like this. I watch her draw it, cut it out, paste it in her book. But then she didn't like the size of it or the way it looked or whatever. So she ripped it out and she balled it up and did it again and cut it out and pasted it in her book. And I was just looking at her like, this is amazing. Yeah. It's not amazing that she, because she's very detailed, which I am as well, because you have to be,
of course,
which I love. But the fact that she just did it twice because it wasn't the way that she wanted it to look. Yeah. At least in the ballpark.
In that,
at least in the ballpark. It wasn't going to be exactly, but in the ball. And I watched her cut it out and do it. I looked at her. She's like, what? I was just like, no, that's amazing.
It's great. Admirable and it's cute.
It's great. Yeah. It was great.
Well, also, I mean, for any leader, whether you're the artist and you're a leader or you're the CEO and you're leading or whatever position you're in, the closer you can put a vision out that people understand.
Absolutely.
The more successful you're going to be in everyone achieving your vision.
That's right. And it depends on the time we have. We always joke with each other, like, if we get like whatever, something like, say we're doing the Oscars or something, and we get more than 2 days, we always joke with each other, like, ooh, that's a lot of time. Like, yeah, because we've done shows in like the last minute.
Yeah, of course.
We've done big shows and for hundreds of thousands of people, like with no time. None.
Oh, like when you filled in the headlining slot at Coachella?
Wow, you're so good. You're good, Elmo. Yeah. What was crazy about that is she was shooting A Star Is Born at that time.
Yeah.
So
which you were in as well?
Yeah, I was in.
Let's get that cameo.
So I actually had a speaking line. So I was working. That's a quick aside. We were working, and I was in the super band. For what I forgot the scene, and Bradley was coming in, and I improvised a line on one of the takes. I was like, "Hey, Jack," or something like musicians would do when you walk in the room. And Bradley goes, "Hey, I didn't know you were going to be here," or something like that. And then he comes to me on the side. He's like, "Keep doing that. That's good." Like, and so we kept doing it. But then that got cut out. And I saw him. I was like, "He's like, dude, it wasn't me." He's like, "I didn't cut that out." So I'm in there for like a nanosecond. Yeah. Still, but I'm still there. But take it. But yeah, she was working on that, and so Richie and I had to like put all of that together at the last minute. And we did.
How last minute was it?
It was a while ago, so I don't remember, but it was quite last minute for us.
Days, weeks?
I think we had a week or so, but it wasn't much more. It wasn't much more than, it wasn't like a month.
Yeah, a week or so for a Coachella main stage headline. It wasn't like a
month. Like, it wasn't days, but it wasn't like a month. Like, we didn't have a sit down and a whole thing. And even when we did get her, she had to be fitted for wardrobe and learn all the things. And so we didn't have her for much. We were working at Coachella, like at soundcheck. Okay, you're gonna go stage right here. But to her credit, when the lights went on and it was time, she went out there and just killed it. Just like we had a month or so. Yeah, she just killed it. But that was her trusting Richie and I to do what we do and what we have been doing for her forever.
Right.
So when you get that close knit magic, I keep using that word because that's what it is to me. Then you just kind of just leap without a net. And she does that anyway. Yeah. But to know that we're gonna have her back, band, dancers, me, Richie, lighting, everybody, make everybody, wardrobe, everybody's gonna have her. Yeah. And she knows that. And she'll just jump like she did at Super Bowl.
At the Super Bowl. I was just gonna be like, did she leap without a net at the Super Bowl?
Man, I went up there.
Where she jumped off from?
I went up there and it was like, because I don't like heights.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the worse it gets for me. Planes don't bother me, but like standing high, like, and I looked at, I was just like, this, I love you. I don't know why you're doing this, but respect.
Wow.
Respect, because it was so high up there.
Yeah. That was amazing. That halftime show was incredible.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow.
It was so good to put together. And it was quite, because I like even when I was a kid in school, and you have school exercise to do. Like in English, you have like haiku to write, and there's specific parameters that you have. 7 syllables, 5 syllables, 7, whatever it is. And so for the Super Bowl, you only get a certain amount of time to put together all of that. So it used to be 12 minutes. Then they gave us 13, and now they're giving them like 15 minutes. Like, give me 15 minutes. It was great. And so the challenge was, musically, especially for me, because I am not a fan of medleys.
Yeah.
Because you usually don't get what it is that you like about the song. The verse, chorus, like, to me, then you're out, then you go to the next thing. It's just too fast, and it's just, so I have a certain way that I like to put medleys together where you feel like you're getting the I was going to say the meat of the song, but the bulk of the song, a good portion of it. Yeah. And so we had to figure out all of the hits that we wanted to use and how that was going to fit together like a puzzle piece, and how we were going to flow for her coming down, and how all the dance was going to work, and all of that, and where we were going to end and how we were going to end it. And so that started from a vision, and then that also, was on paper. Then once we get in with bodies and, band members and dancers and all that, and then we start seeing what's happening and what we like and what we don't like. And so I always likened it to like an artist and a sculpture. At the beginning, it's a big hunk of marble, and then we just start doing this to it. Yeah. And then at the end, it just becomes like a sculpture, a big sculpture. So it was fun to do. She was full in on it from day one. Yeah. From day one. We had a meeting at her house about it when we found out that she was going to do it. And we just went in and we just stayed locked in. And she rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And she did everything live. Yeah. Everything was live.
Really? Wait. Really?
She sang
everything. She sang everything live. Yeah.
The band can never be live.
Yeah, it can't be live.
That's always pre-recorded for everybody.
Always.
Every single artist who's ever done it. Yeah. Except for Prince. Prince was live.
Convinced them to do an actual...
Prince did that actually live.
Wow. It sounds and looks like it.
Yeah. Prince was the only one, if I remember, that did it live. But anything could happen on the day of the Super Bowl. So you can't. Yeah, you can't. You can't chance that.
And you're doing a massive turnover. It's the biggest turnover ever in the shortest amount of time.
I wish I had taken video in time lapse just to see, so we could show the audience how much they have to turn this over. The team leaves and they got to go right in on it. Make sure it's safe. Make sure the set, It's extraordinary what the ground crews do.
Yeah, safe enough to put a huge pop star 100 feet in the air.
Yeah, man.
And that's crazy. Okay, so we're talking about Lady Gaga's Super Bowl halftime performance that Michael Bearden music directed, and how. So yes, if you didn't know, I'm sure all musicians know, but yeah, it's all pre-record. Every single Super Bowl that you see. It's all pre-recorded. A lot of TV performances in general are, but definitely the Super Bowl. It's always been a thing. That's even why Chili Peppers, Flea had his bass unplugged to be just to be a little, hey, right? Exactly. So but for Gaga to have her actual vocal performance in there is amazing. For her to sing that live with how crazy she's going. Yes. And all the tricks, she's literally flying.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing.
Because she's an amazing artist.
Wow.
So and I always insist on the artists that I work with who can actually sing. Yeah. To just do it live. No auto-tune, no Melodyne, just give me. Because at the end of the day, you're still a human being. Here we go back to the human part of it. But why are we doing this? Yeah. Once again, to touch souls, to move people, to inspire people, to motivate people, to give you an escape for the 13 minutes that we're there, to inspire other young girls and boys who want to come up and do this, that it can actually be done. That's how I'm in the business. I was inspired by somebody. So that's what I insist on doing it. And if you have the talent to do that, why not do it? I come from that era where you had to do that. Yeah. And so, and to Gaga's credit, that's how she thinks.
Yeah.
That's how she wants to go out. And, you know, we pride ourselves on trying to never really repeat what we do. And so it's always bespoke, if you will, everything that we do and we put out there. So the fact that she did it live, and then I love that at the end, and this came about in rehearsal, she's like, how are we going to end this thing? And we were just trying to figure it out. And I can't remember if we had a football in rehearsal or something, but guys were like tossing it around. She was like, you know, throw me a pass. And she caught it. And we were like, that's how we're going to end it. You should like catch a football. And she's like, yeah, then I'll just jump in a big pit. Yes, let's do that. And so she said, she's spoken about this in interviews, her after doing all of that amazing flying down and dancing and singing her butt off and all that. She's like, my main thing was like, I got to catch that football.
You got to catch that ball.
Catch that football. Like, I cannot miss it. She caught it. And she caught it. And she was like, and she got out the pit. And I was actually there, but the security was there. And we just running backstage to the dressing room. And she was like, I caught it. I was like, yes. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. She killed that performance. And
what a badass.
She's a badass. I really adore working with her and just really love her as a person, as a human being. It's so much fun. And I'm very grateful to have been there this long.
I'd like to talk about good old Michael Jackson. So
MJ.
So this is it, the final tour production that was built and was going to be the biggest, you know, the Michael Jackson ending run was Michael Bearden, music directing that whole thing. Man, it's so crazy you were there for that ride. I can only imagine that in that moment of it happening, it must have already felt so incredibly special because you're doing this with Michael Jackson for this 50-show London residency to move on to keep doing this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then he dies, which is still such a fucking trip. And I know you guys were in rehearsal, right? When he died?
Let me just backtrack a little.
Yeah.
I'm from the South Side of Chicago.
Yep.
Born and raised. And the Jackson 5 were like heroes to us.
Yeah.
They're from Gary, Indiana, right down the street.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was coming up, there wasn't many young people that looked like me growing up. And so they were inspiration and all that. And they were actually the first concert that I ever saw was the Jackson 5.
Wow.
Way up in the nosebleeds, but we were there, me and my brothers. And, you know, I remember saying to either my brothers or my mother, I was like, you know, I want to be Michael's friend. And not only was I able to be Michael's friend, I was able to lead him in his music and this whole comeback thing. So a whole full circle moment for me.
Yeah.
And it was not the first time I had worked with MJ. I worked with him at the 30th anniversary concert at the Garden right before 9/11 happened. So that's a whole other story we won't even get into, but I worked with Michael, his brothers, and everybody else on the show.
Wow.
And then I was flying back to LA on the 11th to finish starting my work with Jennifer Lopez that I was about to do. So that's a whole story, but I won't get into. But with This Is It, you know, we were working and just working away. You know, some days MJ would be into it, some days he wouldn't. But for the most part, he was really excited about what we were about to do, especially the last night. And if you ever interview any of the band members that were there, they were coming over to me like, what got into MJ? Like, he was looking at me that last night as if to say, yeah, I'm Michael Jackson. I got this. He was killing it. 50 years old, still wearing the young dancers out.
Yeah.
Killing it, singing, dancing. It was just like after all that work we had been doing, and we finally got to Staples Center, and we had 8 days left before we were going to go to London because we kept a countdown sheet at the production office. I have a photo of that, which I'll release one day when I finish my book finally. But and so we were just counting down and we're all looking at the days. And that night before, when MJ was just like really in it, we were just like, oh, this is going to be epic. And so I didn't find out into the morning. We left later. Usually me and MJ left the latest.
Yeah.
So the band would be going, and we parked in the Staples Center down in the dock. So my car was there, and MJ's cars were there. And so, I saw him right before we left that night. And, we said, God bless you, God bless you. I love you. Hug, hug, hug. That's what we did every night.
Yeah.
And I never saw him again. And I didn't find out till that morning, and I was up late because as a music director, you just having a foresight of just what you're doing. Like, I can't sleep.
Yeah.
I don't sleep. And especially when I'm really working with it, especially with that, I really wanted that to be just like the most amazing thing that he had ever done, and that I had ever done. Like, we were just trying to make it the top level. Mike, MJ, Kenny Ortega, the director, and Travis Payne, who was the choreographer. We just were like tag teaming this as this is going to be the greatest spectacular in the history of shows.
Yeah.
And then my mother called me in the morning. She's like, "What's this I hear about Michael going to the hospital?" And I wasn't on social media. I wasn't on watching TV. I was strictly in my studio working on arrangements, fine tuning everything for MJ. I was like, "Mom, what are you talking about?" And she's like, I said, "I haven't heard anything. I just saw him. Like, I just left him." And she's like, "No, well," she mentioned TMZ or something like that. I was like, "Why are you watching these rats?" She said, "That's the ones that's reporting it." So then my phone just started blowing up with everybody just hitting me. And I was just like, uh-oh. So I called and I talked to, some of the production people, and they were like, "All we know is he's, going to the hospital, or he's in the hospital. That's all we know." I was like, "Well, I'm coming in."
Yeah.
And so I drove in
to the Staples Center.
But by the time I got there, he had passed, and it was just, I won't say any more after that, but suffice to say, when you're working on something and it's so vibrant and it feels like, like everything is about to happen and the city is jumping. And I mean by city is like the stage. Yeah. Everybody's building stuff, everybody lighting stuff, sound people were working on stuff. It's just vibrant. And when I walked into that thing, it was just quiet. And it didn't really hit me for a while because, I was the music director. I was still leading.
Yeah.
Everybody was distraught and crying, and all the things that you would think would happen was happening. And it just, what really struck me was just, especially after the night before when he was just like in it. And the guys coming to me like, "Man, what's going on with MJ?" Like, and then he's not here. So it was just reliving this. That's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still feel it. It took me a full 3 years before I could listen to any of his music, like all the way through.
Yeah.
Like 3 years it took. And so, we did the memorial, which it was a fine line between, because it was an event, but it was also a memorial. So it's a funeral, but it's a live event going to billions around the world. So I had to put that together, and it was just a really dark and sad time.
Yeah, because you have like his the amount of space that he held in the world goes away. It's like a vacuum.
Yes.
Right? And that's what the fans feel, and everyone that didn't know him, let alone everyone that did know him or knew him intimately.
Yes.
On top of that, you're sitting there doing your job. You have all this momentum behind you of the entire show. 100, however many people are on that tour, building that show under you. So that thing's moving. You just had the most killing run through the night before. And so that's just probably still moving, even though it can't. It's like,
I likened it to a freighter in the ocean.
Yeah.
And there's a stop sign. You move it, and you finally got this freighter up to its top speed. and then here's a stop sign in the ocean, and you're expected to stop right there.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
It keeps going so that momentum, as you say, was still there.
Yeah.
Mentally,
emotionally,
physically.
Yeah.
We're building up to something.
Yeah.
So it was a sad time. And even today I get DMs from MJ fans all around the world that say, my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old, my 5-year-old, like they weren't even alive when Michael was on the planet. And they're like, they'll send me photos of them in the hat or singing his songs. And it's just something about him that just resonated outside of what this is that we do. It was just something about him. Yeah. His spirit, his soul, his whatever it was, it's just still resonating 15 years after his passing. Yeah. People are still.
It's never going to stop.
I can't see it stopping.
Yeah.
I can't see it stopping.
Yeah. Don't stop till you get enough, and you never will. And you never will.
Yeah, but it was. I don't want it to feel sad for your audience. Yeah. And
no, I think where there's here's a question for you in terms of how do you learn from this, right? You can't learn any. I mean, Michael's gone, but what you can learn from is like you being in the position of leader in that moment. What do you do? I'm sure that the band, like if you were my music director and I was the drummer, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan did it. Yeah, Jonathan Moffett. Like, I would be calling you.
Yes, well,
right. Like, what now? What? Even if you're like, I don't have answers for this problem, right? Like,
well, it was and Foot, had known Michael, much longer than I had, and he had worked with Michael and all that.
Played on a bunch of the Michael stuff.
Of course. I mean, he was
Sugarfoot.
I mean, they were family.
Yeah.
And he was the most distraught.
Man, I can imagine.
So I talked to him a lot. I talked to, all the guys, Orianthe, who she and I are still really dear friends.
The guitarist,
amazing guitarist. Yeah. She was the first person I saw when I got there.
Yeah,
and she was distraught. Like we all, as you would all think we were.
Yeah.
But what was the thing that I learned? First of all, you have to treat, and this is where we go back to all the artists that I work with, and why I said when we first started this conversation, I treat everybody like human beings.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are.
Yeah.
Although extraordinary, but they are still human beings with all the flaws and all the greatness and all the things that come with us. That's what they are.
Yeah.
And so you have to put yourself in a mind frame that the only thing that's ever constant and that's ever inevitable is change.
Yeah.
Everything is going to change. And it's not going to always be how you envision it to be. Mm-hmm. And that absolutely was not the case for us.
Yeah.
We had no inkling of what was going to happen to MJ. Yeah. We never even thought that.
That wasn't even a thought.
Not even a thought. So,
because you're seeing him in top form, killing it.
Seeing it every day.
Every day.
Like I said earlier, some days he wasn't into it, but every artist I work with is like, they're not into it.
Everyone's got their days.
It was funny when when we were working on the film and we were at Sony and we finally got it to a place where the brothers could come in and watch it. And I'm sitting next to Jackie and I think Marlon, but Jackie leans over to me and says, "How y'all get my brother to do that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He never rehearsed."
You get him excited, right? That's what you do.
Excited.
You get him excited.
He's like, "How y'all?" He never liked to rehearse, and they were just all chiming in.
See, but that's on you to make him excited about it.
It was on me to make him excited. It was on me, and that was the thing. There's a famous scene in the film, This Is It, where Michael and I are, talking and going back and forth. And at the end, I finally say he just put a little more booty on it or something, and he's laughing.
Yeah.
What you don't see at the end of that scene, because there's a lot of talk about that scene, and I'm not going to get into it, but what you don't see at the end of that scene, unless cameras were rolling and we didn't know, and we really didn't know, cameras were just rolling. At that time, you just working, they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Is him coming over to me and hugging me like, "Oh, okay, I hear what you're saying. you're right, and that kind of thing. We just kind of hugged it out. We weren't mad at each other, but once again, I have never been a sycophant in my life. Like, so if I'm feeling a certain way and I'm feeling a certain thing, I'm going to express that to you.
Yeah.
And then the artist is going to come back, and then it's just going to be iron sharpens iron at that point.
Yes.
And then we're gonna talk and work it out or not.
Yeah.
Depending on who. But I think towards the end, especially towards the end, because you go into every artist has a different level of growing.
Yeah.
That when they're working with a music director, so some get right into it. As Gaga and I really did. And then some take a minute because they're flexing and doing what they do and trying to figure you out. And if you really got me, and if I can trust you and all that thing. Towards the end, and he told me this to my face. And maybe I'll tell the story. So one day they brought me into his office, and I could always tell when MJ was there. This is how great his energy was. I would be in my office if the band was on a break or something, and I would just look up and go, Michael's here. And I wouldn't even know. I didn't see him. I just could feel his energy. He just commanded whenever he was anywhere. He just commanded that type of attention. And sure enough, like 5 minutes later, his guy would come in, Mr. Bearden, Mr. Jackson would like to see you in his room. And so I go down to the room, and we're talking, and I go, and so what I did, and this is how long ago it was, if he wasn't able to get into the band room, sometimes I had them get an iPod and some headphones, and we would record it. I multi-track recorded everything we did.
Yeah.
Just like, with MJ, everything is big, big cameras, big, so I had, studio, like all of that, all the things. And I would make them put the rehearsal, the band, my new arrangements, whatever, put it in his iPod. And so when they're driving him home, he could just listen to it, and he can give me notes and all that. So I go in and we're talking, and I'm just like, so you want to hear the new arrangement? Like, I'm all excited about this one thing we're working on. He's like, no, I don't need to hear it. And so then I go, we're not going to work on it today? He said, oh yeah, I'll be in there with you. We'll work on it. I said, well, MJ, can I ask why you don't want to hear it? Like, now I'm getting like, what's going on? And he said, because I trust you. You got me.
It's awesome.
You got me now, is what he said. You got me now. I trust you. And so we kept talking about whatever he usually wanted to talk about. And then I left. He says, yeah, I'm gonna go dance for a minute, and I'll be in there. I'll let you know. Maybe we'll have some, like a dinner. Sometimes I would just eat dinner with him or something, and then we'll go in. He said, I'll go in there and work out with y'all, is what he said. So I left that room. I was like,
yes, dude.
I was like, no cameras roll, like nothing. Nobody saw me, but that's something you can never take with. But this took weeks and weeks and weeks of just us working and going back and forth and all that. But when he told me that, I knew all the work that I was putting in, even when I left, was working, and I was able to let him see that I'm here for you. I'm about you. And that's always the case with every artist I work with. It's I don't have a personal agenda. So for instance, if I do an arrangement and you don't like it, I don't get bent out of shape about it. I just change it to what you would like. And we just keep it moving.
It's nothing personal. Yeah.
It's nothing. It's not about personal. The music is bigger than you. So if I want to put a sharp 11 in there and you don't like that, I take the damn sharp 11 out. It's just that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and your audience would know what a sharp 11
Oh,
is.
absolutely.
So,
that clip of you guys doing The Way You Make Me Feel.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's the clip.
That's the clip going through that arrangement. And I think in that you see a bunch. There's a lot to analyze in that clip, right? There is you being like, okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you also see the precision of him knowing all the snare hits and how he moves to every...
that was the one thing that I learned from... I mean, there's more to that scene, and I'm actually going to save some of that for the book because there were some things that happened before he got in the room, which is why I was feeling a certain type of way.
You can tell there's history in this moment.
It was history in that moment. But the thing that I did... really admire about MJ was his attention to detail. Here we go again about snare hits and those things. So one day we were working on something. I think it was wanted to be starting something.
Yeah.
And he stopped the band. He said, "That's not right." And I go, "MJ, what's not right? Explain to me what's not right."
Yeah.
Because I want to know. I'm not being facetious or anything. I'm like, what's not right? Like, we want to fix this. He said, so he pulled me to the side. And this was one thing that I also loved about MJ, because if he felt that what he was going to say was going to make somebody feel uncomfortable, or he would be pointing out, he would just bring me to the side and say what it is that he wanted to say. And then I would go and say the thing.
Deliver the message.
It was just his way. Just the way he did things was like, I just really admired him.
Yeah.
The way he handled things.
He's delegating it to you.
But not even just me, because it wasn't about me, but just, he was really like, so for instance, when Ori first got in the band, she wasn't in my initial band. Michael tasked me with finding somebody that could fit that role that he wanted. And he gave me explicit instructions on what he wanted. And then so I found Ori. There's a whole longer story to that, but I found Ori. So the day that Ori was there to play for Michael, and I walked in the room with MJ, I told him, well, she's here, you come listen to her and all that kind of thing. He was walking with me. And when we walked in, he could tell that she was nervous, right?
Yeah.
And who would not be? And the most beautiful thing, he just walked right over to her and kind of like, introduced himself like, "Hi, I'm Michael, Bearden tells me a lot about you, blah, blah, blah," like whatever he said. And just like, "I'm just going to sit here and listen to you guys play." Like, he just broke the ice. Like, It was just like, don't be nervous. He could have just come in and just sat down and been MJ, but he didn't. He let me go, because we usually just locked arms when we walked sometimes, and he would just lock my arm, and then he just let me go and just walk right to her. I just thought that was just the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how he handled things. But in that one rehearsal, so what he told me was, he said, "So if you listen to my music, all the stuff that feels like it should be background, I needed to be in the front. I want it to be up. So all the rhythm stuff that you think should be buried is not. That's the rhythm that I'm dancing on. That's the rhythm that I'm singing on." So, and he said, "That's his cousin right there. So his family, that's his cousin right there." The way he said it, the way he did it, it just made so much sense. We just spoke in regular human terms and not like,
wow,
like music. Like, "That's his cousin right there."
Yeah. That's his cousin right there. I love that.
That's just like, who thinks of that? That was so, and so I went and I whispered it to the guitarist and everybody. And when we started working on it again, he would just look at me. He would just go, he'd do like a thumbs up type of thing.
Yes.
And that was that. And so he was very keen on what he wanted. But what I was really trying to do was just, and there was no diss to anybody that came before me. I respect everybody that came before me. Especially somebody like Greg Fillingham. Like, Greg was a mentor,
of course,
and somebody I looked up to as a kid. He played on all the damn records. Like, so you gotta learn Greg's parts, right? Like, so it was nothing that. But when I get handed a situation, I want to make it my thing. I know it's not about me, but I want to have my musical approach to what the artist's vision is. Yeah. So it feels different than everything that came before him. And so that's what I was working on. Was just like, now I know what they did. I mean, some things, MJ wanted to just be what it was. And so I would just have to do that and figure out whatever little twist I could put on there. Yeah. If it was minimal or major. So he would stick to that, but certain things I would just try to get him out of. One thing I did was just try to take as much stuff out the box as possible. Meaning, like, some things were iconic, so I'm not going to try to recreate. Of course. Like, I'm not going to try to recreate that. Yeah. Spend all that time in the studio.
And people want to hear that.
Throw that in a box. Yeah. That's fun. But if you want to stop MJ on the dime, and you want to be able to do things, I want to take that out the box so you can just do that and just look at me do your foot like that, and then we just come back in. And so I was able to do that for him on a bunch of things, and he just loved that. He's like, wait a minute, I could stop. What's going to happen with the, like, I said, don't worry about the box. We got that. Like, we put all things in pads. Like, everything you hearing, I'm playing live.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, it's not in the box.
Yeah.
What? Like, he was like, so I could just stop. And I said, go, watch this. And he did it, and we do it. He was just like, yeah, he was so amazed and so happy about it. So it was my job to get him excited about certain things and these little adjustments that I would make.
Which is why you got him to do things he didn't want to do, like go to rehearsal.
Go to rehearsal. And also they tell me, because he's old school.
Yeah.
He didn't grow up with in-ears.
Right.
So he hated that. Like, he really didn't want to use in-ears, and all my sound people were like, Michael, you gotta get him to wear ears. I was like, dude, I'm trying. Like, I want. So somebody came into me, just like, well, you know what he's doing? I said, what? He's getting molded for ears right now. I said, no way. He's like, and the guy, the people who told me was like, I've been around him all these years. He has never done that.
He wants 600 wedges.
He was like, yeah, he has never sat down to get molded. He was like, I don't know what you did, but he did it. He got him molded and he got him made. He still didn't want to wear them.
Oh my God.
He still didn't want to wear them. But at least he got them at least done and made. I don't know if I was going to ever get him to wear them or not. I mean, because when you're 10 and 11 and 12 years old and you're just used to wedges and you're just used to what.
It's always a hard transition to ears anyways, no matter who you are, even if you're a new artist and you've just been playing in your bedroom and then all of a sudden you got in-ears in.
I know.
It's hard.
We'll do like crazy sound checks with Gaga sometimes and just amazing things. And then when I'm looking at her on the show, one is out.
Yeah.
You're
like, how is that better?
They want what they want. Yeah. They want what they want, and they hear what they. Man, it just brought up a story in my head. I remember when we were working on the 30th anniversary concert in New York at the Garden, and we were in rehearsal at some pier. I forgot where we were.
30th anniversary of what? Of the Garden?
No, 30th anniversary of. It was a Michael Jackson 30th anniversary concert.
Got it.
So on the show was like Luther and Usher, Chris Tucker came, Elizabeth Taylor. It was just like packed full of all these people, jazz art, like everybody came and did a tribute to MJ. So we were working on that, and it was a segment with his brothers, and we were working on it, and I just happened to look, like I'm playing, and we just happened to look down because the band was like up on this thing that they built. And so I'm watching the brothers working. And so it came time for one of them to sing, and his mic wasn't working. And he's like doing it like that. And his brothers see it, right? But we're still in the middle of the thing.
Yeah.
And so he just threw it back. One of his brothers threw him his mic. It wasn't Mike, it was one of the brothers. They just threw it to the brother that was working, and he was just singing, and he sang his part, and he just threw it back, and they didn't miss a step. And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, that's only because they've been doing this forever.
That's the gel.
That's the to know something is wrong. Okay, bum bum bum. Oh, you got 2 more bars before it happened. Boom,
yep.
Boom. Sing my part, dance, boom, boom.
Yeah.
and just keep it moving. I was just like, wow.
Man, Operation Take Care of Michael.
Wow. It was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations on you accomplishing your boyhood dream of being friends with Michael Jackson.
How about that?
And then leading him, man. Creating his vision, man. Executing his vision, bro. You did it. It's amazing.
How about that?
Dude. Good on you.
I'm quite grateful. I'm just, my life is so surreal to me.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that if it's something you really believe in, it's something you really want to do, and you dedicate your life to it, and you put the work in.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have a dream. It's another to not work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take that action. That's what most people don't do.
You got to take that action, and you got to be ready for the failures.
Yeah.
I always say I didn't ever really have failures. I just had growth.
Yeah.
Everything that didn't happen, or everything that I thought would happen, or the way it would happen, I learned from.
Yeah.
So I either just learned or I grew.
I love that. Yeah. You never know unless you try. You got to do it.
Yeah.
And then, there is no failure. Just learning lessons.
Yeah.
And you never know why something is actually going to happen. Something bad can happen, and then it opens a whole other door. And I wouldn't have even been able to do that if it wasn't for
that
this.
is absolutely the case.
Yeah. All right. One final MJ thing. Since you got to know him so well and you got to learn from him, what is the greatest lesson you ever learned from Michael Jackson?
Here's the thing that I think that was the genius of him. Besides that, he could sing anything since he was a kid. I remember having a conversation with Smokey, and I'm sure he said this in interviews and things, but when he sang Who's Loving You, I think he was 10 or 11 at the time. Smokey was like, who's gonna be singing my song? This little kid, let me see that. And he's like, Smokey's like, shit, he's saying better than me. He's like, you really thought that he had a love that, heartbroken at 10, 11 years old. But besides all of that brilliance that MJ had in the dance and singing and all that, the thing that I think a lot of people don't see about him is that he was able to make very complex things, especially in the music, simple.
Yeah.
Michael's genius is to make things simple. Like he would say to me all the time, especially when I'm arranging things, it's like, okay, so when you arrange it, don't make it too complicated. I want them, he would always say, I want them to be able to hum it. I want to get them from 8 to 80. We say that all the time, 8 to 80, 8 to 80. I want to get them, so they should be able to hum it. It should be simple. It shouldn't be too complicated, blah, blah, blah. So if you listen to all those things, Quincy and them did, Quincy had, here we go, sharp 11s, 13s, flat 9s, all type of chord things in it that are not necessarily pop music. But very much what Quincy would do. But Michael singing on top of it, and you still dancing to it. Very complex musical structures and harmony and all of this thing, and it was still simple.
Yeah.
You're still singing, you're still dancing. To me, that was his genius, to make all these complex things feel simple.
God.
That everybody could get to, which is why I'm still getting DMs, my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old, my 5-year-old. Children understand simple things. And they're still resonating with him 15 years after his passing. That's simple things, not complex. He could have absolutely gone, jazzy or whatever way he loved, because he always he loved what he would call the beautiful notes. He loved like the beautiful harmonies and beautiful complex chordal structures and all that type of thing. And if you listen to him sing these ballads, you can hear that he loved that. He would say to me sometime, we were talking when we have lunch, he was like, I love the Bee Gees, I love their harmonies, and like all of that type of thing. You can hear all of that. Yeah. But he still make it simple. Yeah. Still would be simple.
From 8 to 80.
8 to 80 is what he said. 8 to 8. I want to get him from 8 to 80. That was his thing.
Yo, I'm going to take that home. I'm already home. Wow. I'd like to now kind of move into there's a through line here, and there's a big piece of the story that is the South Side of Chicago.
South Side?
You're from the South Side of Chicago. Quincy Jones from the South Side of Chicago. Mm-hmm. Quincy tied to Michael. You did the inauguration. That's for Michelle Obama from the South Side of Chicago. What's up with the South Side of Chicago? What's up with look at where you guys all went.
I know, man. Listen,
and you've known Michelle forever, right?
We're still good friends to this day.
Can you tell Michelle Obama to run for president? Please. What is she?
I'm not getting into it.
No one has said that before.
No.
Yeah, right.
I've known Misha a very long time. We were really close when we were younger too. And then when we went to college, I remember when she got into Princeton, and I was so proud of her. And I went to Howard University. Ain't you? And it was just down the turnpike from each other. So we would still see each other as friends and visit each other, and all of that. I'll tell a Mish story. soon in the book or something. But she and I were really close. I remember when she was dating Barack and the whole thing. But we've known each other since we were young.
Yeah.
But we went to the same high school together, and that's why. But I met we from the same side of town, and she wasn't too far away from me. 10 minutes maybe. I knew her mother and her brother Craig. Her father was a no nonsense kind of guy.
Yeah,
he was always sort of intimidating to me. He was just like straight up like, looking at you with his daughter. But we were very close friends, and still every time I see her, even now, I did the current president's inauguration with Gaga. She sang the anthem, which I arranged and conducted the Marine Orchestra, and so I saw Mish and Barack there, and it's always funny because there'll be a crowd of people and it'll just be Secret Service and all these people, and I'm always just being me, especially with them.
Yeah.
And so if there's a line, I'll jump in front of it. If somebody's talking to them, I'll be like, excuse me, or something, like something silly, and they'll both look at me like, of course, like, it was funny because Barack saw me at the inauguration, and she was like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "I did a thing with Gaga and blah, blah, blah." And Barack was like, "Of course,
yeah,
of course
you did."
And so and then I'm just holding up the line. Everybody's just like, they're leaving because they're just trying to get out of it. But it's so great and so cool to see where they are, where she is. She was always extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I always knew she would do something nobody could predict, that she would be the first. Like you could never predict that.
Yeah, of course.
But I knew she was always going to be amazing. A quick story. I won't tell the whole story. Some of this stuff I'm editing in my head. Like, I want to put that in the book. I was doing the Kennedy Center Honors, which I had done for, I think I did that show for like 12 years off and on.
Yeah.
And so one year when they were there, I think this was his second term, I played at his first inauguration as well. So I had done both inaugurations. Secret Service came down to the green room and swooped me up to bring me to the president's box. And I was like, wow, so we're going through all these checkpoints. And when I get to the box, the guy goes, "You Michael Bearden?" And I was like, "Yes." He says, "I have the first lady for you." And he opens his door, and it's Mish and Michelle Obama. I call her Mish. But and so, we're hugging and screaming and doing all the things. And then in the box is the president. And then it was the honorees that year. So I think that year was David Letterman, Buddy Guy, Led Zeppelin, I think Dustin Hoffman. It's like all these people, right?
Yeah.
And it was so great. And me and Barack were talking and making the people laugh. And because I would say some stuff that I will say for the book.
Okay.
I know your people will be like, "Why don't you say something?" But at the end, the reason I'm bringing the story up, the end of because I had to go back and play for the segment, the next segment. I said, "Mr. President, I have to go, get dressed for the next segment." And he pulled me and Mish to the side, and he said to both of us, and we both looked at each other like, wow. He says, "I just want to say that I'm very proud of you both." And me and Mish looked at each other like, he said, and I said, "Well, why, Mr. President?" And I was like, "Thank you." Like, I'm like honored, like I'm almost shaking because like, wow, I was not expecting it. And he said it to his wife as well. He says, "Because I know where you both come from, and I know the work that you put in."
Yeah. That's awesome.
And that was so awesome. And she looked at him like, she could not be more in love with him. And and she looked at
beautiful.
me like, we both looked at each other like, wow, just wow. And that was
because it's not like there's a ton of people in their circle that are still at this point that are coming around organically, not from that they brought in.
Right.
You're coming in just independently.
Right.
On your own. You made it there on your own.
Right.
And then you guys are all in the same room.
We're all in the same room. And that's why that's why he said that.
Yeah.
And it was so, and plus he loves music, and he was just really digging what had happened before. And so it was so great. It made me feel so good. But from Chicago, so Ramsey Lewis was a mentor of mine. We went to this. Well, me and Michelle went to school. It was like all these famous people's kids went to the school. It was like a music and art school. It was a magnet school. And so Whitney Young High School. And so we went there, and all these kids went there. So one of Ramsey's sons went there. And we had a band together, and I would go to Ramsey's house on the weekends and stuff. And so Ramsey, one day I played his piano and I wasn't supposed to, because I didn't know that was the rule of the house, that you're not supposed to play his piano. So I started playing his piano when I was waiting for his son. And he came running down. He was like, "Who's playing my piano?" And it was me. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis." And then he was like, he came over to me and he was just like, "Keep playing something, like play for me." And I played. He was telling me you should work on your left hand and all these things. And then he sort of took a liking to me. And so he became a mentor. Herbie Hancock a little bit later, also from Chicago. Yeah. Quincy. If you look at Quincy's career, it's literally the blueprint of what I do.
Wow.
Only because it's just so important when you're a young kid, like I brought up the Jackson 5, to see people that look like me. Well, to see Quincy, but I didn't even know the stuff that Quincy did was a thing that you could do. So for instance, my mom really loved Sanford the Son, and we would watch that as kids, and the theme would come on. And so then when the theme came on, you're just like, well, who wrote that? Like, who did that? And then at the end, you see Quincy Jones, you go, oh, that's a thing you can actually do. Wow. Okay. So now I'm like exploring this in my head as a boy, like, well, what does composing mean? Like, what is, then I go back and you see all the films that he did. And then the first original, Bill Cosby show that came out, it was just Bill Cosby. Hickey Burr is the name of the thing. And, Quincy wrote that. Like it was all these things. I was like, wow, that's a thing you could do. And then he produces, and then he was music director for, Frank Sinatra with the Basie band and all these things. I was just like, wow. And he moved to New York. I moved to New York. He moved to LA. I moved to LA. It's literally the blueprint of what it is that I do.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So where's your version of the dude, huh? Where's the Michael Bearden? Where's the Bearden solo
I love
album?
Talking to Elmo, because this is when people actually understand. That's coming actually.
Yes,
that's
dude.
So that's breaking. I haven't told anybody
Let's
that, but
go.
I gathered some friends. This is years ago. It should have been out years ago, but you get so busy and you get so
Understood.
Crazy things happen.
Yeah.
But now I've been looking at it lately with really putting the book in hyperdrive.
Yeah.
I'm getting help now. You got to have your North Star, like all the things that you have to have. So now I'm trying not to make excuses for me being so busy. And as you know, when we've been trying to sit down, like busy is real.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to make excuses, especially this year, just like to really get stuff out.
It's not even just, you and I were talking about this off camera, right? It's not that you're making excuses. It's priority. It's prioritizing. And it's also, how do you prioritize yourself and your creative projects when artists are calling you and saying, yo, I want you to work on this. Here's a bunch of bread. And this is what you do for a living. And you got people to support, right? So how do you, no matter where you are in your career, right?
It's
20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like wherever you are in your career, when do you choose to prioritize you, if ever?
I mean, that's facts. And I have not figured that out yet.
It sounds like you're starting to.
No. I really am. Once again, like I said, like we were talking off camera, I have only done this my entire life.
Yeah.
So I have never done a proper job. I've only done music as my livelihood for my entire adult life.
Yeah.
So this is all I really know. And this is what I know. And this is what I love. And this is what I dedicated my life to and put the time in.
Yeah.
And so I'm really grateful to be still working at a high level and to still be relevant and to still get the calls.
Yeah.
Like people, even when it feels like it's going to be downtime and it's never really downtime, I was like, okay, now I can just start really concentrating on this. The phone will ring, or the emails will come, and it just happened recently, and I got approached, and I can't talk about it fully, but I got approached in an area of this business that I'm is not my comfort zone. Let's put it that way. But I'm running to it because it's not my comfort zone. Yeah. I'm going right forward.
Do it.
And by these big reputable people.
Great.
And so I've just been working on that.
Amazing.
And so they're still coming. So when do you prioritize? Like, so even if I was just like, oh, I'm going to work on me for this month, well, then that happened.
Yeah.
And then I'm the one that will, even if I don't know how to do it, I'll be like, oh yeah.
But do you know what that is, bro? It's the universe testing you. It's like, how bad do you really want to do this thing?
This is true.
How bad do you really want to do your thing?
That's true.
Every time you're going to stop and be like, I'm going to do it now, there's an opportunity that's going to come, bro.
It is.
Especially because you got all the momentum of decades of being at the top, doing this at the highest level. So that's not going to stop, man.
It's really not going to stop. But fortunately, I'm coming more to grips with that in my own mind. So I'll just have to be tired. Yeah. That's the only way I could see it, because you really can't turn down amazing opportunities.
Okay, so I think it is... So I look at Elon Musk a lot, just in terms of looking at him for productivity, right? Forget anything else tied to him besides his ability to execute and his productivity.
Of course.
And he's the CEO of the biggest private company in the world, one of the biggest public companies in the world, and many startups that are at 100 plus employees, 1,000 plus employees. And he's doing it every day. And he's not advising. He is CEO. Right. So, I mean, I can say the same thing as being CEO of Jam Card. Like, I'm so busy. Oh, I wish I could do these things. I don't have time. But I'm like, well, he has time. Right. So, and I've researched a lot, like how he does it. First of all, his meetings are 5 minutes, not 30 minutes. Right. 5 minutes. So there is no, how are you, dude? What's happening?
Right.
Cut that out. Right. And he also works all the time, right? He gets like 6 hours of sleep is his number. And he doesn't get less because he knows that then his next day will be ruined, but he also doesn't get more because he knows that that's a waste of time. I don't have the time. Right. So he knows that 6 is his optimal. But just to share with you some things in terms of, I think it's a combination of compartmentalizing and prioritizing, scheduling, and then holding to it.
That's the part.
Putting the schedule together. So, in being an MD, okay, it's going to be, rehearsals are going to be from noon until 8 p.m. every day or whatever it is, right? So I got 9 a.m. till 11 before I have to get over there to be like as focused as possible and work on the book or work on this other thing, right? And that's how you're going to do it while still saying yes to the big opportunities that are coming in, is just from extreme diligence. And it's like holding you already hold yourself to a standard, of course, musically, but you got to hold yourself to a standard in terms of these things that are outside of that box.
That's absolutely well, thank you for sharing that. What I've learned by studying these types of people, not necessarily Elon Musk, but what I've learned, so to-do list, they don't do that.
Yeah.
It's more like time buckets.
Yeah, time buckets.
So for this amount of time to this amount of time, just pretty much what you just said as a music director. Yeah. So for instance, I have a thing coming up. It's this charity benefit show that I do every year. I say every year, but I've done it the last 2 years. I did it in New York when it was in New York, and then last year in Los Angeles, and then this year coming up in a couple of weeks, called Music Will. It used to be called Little Kids Rock, and some years I did it was Hosier, Johnny from the Google Dolls, Run DMC did it one year, John Cicada did it, Mavis Staples did it the first year I did it. Last year was Adina Menzel, my girl who I work with. Yep. MD'd her last year. And who was Babyface was on that show. Tom Morello, who my man, I just worked with Tom again recently. This year, I'm not sure that they announced who's going to be there yet, so I can't say. But but that'll be happening at the end of this month. So even this, the last week or so, I've had to be, okay, who's going to play? What's the music going to be like? How much time do I need? Like, so I've had to do that. But so I dedicate that time to being the music director, Michael Bearden. And then I have absolutely done that. Even when I'm tired, I got to do my bucket of hour on my book.
Yeah.
I got to do my bucket of whatever it is on my records or whatever it is that I'm working on. That has been my 2024, and I don't do resolutions. I just try to stick.
Are you a night owl or a morning person?
Night.
Okay, so that's when you do the book.
Yeah.
In your prime zone.
Yeah, I'm nocturnal. Yeah, for sure.
So whatever, 2 a.m. or whatever, book. Even if it's an hour, dude.
Yeah, that
45 minutes of just focused out every day compounds.
Yeah,
bro, you'll have that.
I did it last night, and it just took me. And I have to be careful of this because it's one thing to be writing, but you have to kind of like remember all these stories. And fortunately, since I was very young when I first got into business, and this was before the phones and all that thing, I would just take photos of everything.
Oh, nice.
And so I have.
Oh, this book's gonna be good.
You're very smart. So I have photos of a lot of things. And so looking at the photos just sparks memories of things. And I go, I need to write about that. And so
that's great.
I did it last night. And I have to be careful because it started taking me on these journeys of like where I was. And even when MJ happened, I was working with Boz Scaggs right then. And Greg had called me to sub for him because he had somewhere to go. So I was working with Boz, and then they were really loving me, and that was going to be happening. And then MJ opportunity happened. So, you can't say no to that. And so all the way that the life flow moves, you try to do it without hurting people or letting people down. That may not always be the case. But for even yourself.
Yeah.
Some certain moves I've made, I'm going like, why did I make that move? And then something else happens, and you go, that's why that happened.
Yeah, you got to keep moving.
You're right, and I thank you for the reminder. But I never say no to the big things that move me. Like the first film I ever scored, not the first film I ever scored because I did a bunch when I was in college at HU. Student films and all that, but the first big opportunity I got with a big studio was with this film that Spike Lee was producing, not directing. It was called Drop Squad. It was a film that came out on Gramercy Universal Picture. It was with Ving Rhames, Eric LaSalle, Vondi Curtis Hall, Casey Lemons, all these people who are big stars now. Yeah. But it was my first big feature film opportunity, and when Spike called, and he had 3 pictures at that time. He had Crooklyn, New Jersey Drive, and Drop Squad. It was part of this 3-picture deal that he had at Universal. And when they called and said, "Could you score a feature film?" I was like, "Yeah." I never scored a feet film in my life.
Yeah, of course. Got to say yes.
I did some documentaries. I did some infomercials. I did some things. But but at that time when I was living in New York at that time, and I was working at with a band that was working at the label of Dave Grusin and Larry Rosen. It was called GRP Records. And so I knew I had access to Dave Grusin, one of the most famous film composers ever, on Golden Pond and The Firm and all these things he scored. And so I asked the A&R guy, I was like, "Can you get me in to see Dave?" He said, "Sure, he'll see you." And but he was like that type. You only got this amount of time, because he's running a label, all the thing. And I sat down with him and asked him, "Hey, how do you score a film?" He was like laughing at me. "You don't know how to score a film?" And basically, what he just told me was like, really look at some pictures, the visuals, and write some music to it. Like what he was saying to me is because he had seen me working. I was producing some artists there, and he was just like, "But I seen you work. You can do this. It's just this and that." And then I really got a handle on it through Marcus Miller, actually.
Oh, okay.
He had scored Boomerang during that time, and they were just showing me. He was just showing me his cues, and I was like, "Oh, that's all this is." He's like, "Yeah, you look at this scene, you do a cue for that, you do." And so I kind of learned. I was looking at books and punches and streamers, and like I was doing all this stuff, and he was like, "No, just do this." Yeah. But had I said no to that opportunity, I might not have been doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like one of my film scores just won an NAACP award recently.
Amazing, dude.
And then I did a film score. They're both on Netflix for Kevin Hart and Chris Rock, called Headliners Only. That's on Netflix. And, that's being bandied about, at least being submitted for Emmys and all that kind of thing. So I've scored many films since then and all of that. So all these opportunities would not have happened had I said no to that big one.
For sure.
In the top.
Yep. It'll always keep leading to whatever the next is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd love to talk about the future. What are your thoughts on AI right now when it comes to music?
Well, here's the thing about any technology. It's here.
Yeah.
Can't stop it. It's not even coming, it's here.
Yeah.
So my thoughts about it is like either you're going to embrace it or it's going to replace you.
Yep.
So right now it's not at the point, although I saw something scary a few days ago where you just almost chat GPT, prompt it.
Udio or Suno. There's two of them.
Yes, that's the one. And just in the style of, and the blah, blah, blah. And it's just coming up. It's still a little nonsensical lyrically and melodically. It's getting much better. Some of the foundation is right in there.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of these companies, especially tech companies that don't want to pay musicians to do what we do.
Yep. Will
chat GPT or AI, I should say, something that's passable enough for them, because there's not a lot of us in these positions, meaning people who know music. Yeah. And so the bar has been, I used to say it used to be low, but there is no bar anymore. The excellence factor, people want things so fast and expedient, and the quality of things seems to diminish. I'm not one of these get off my lawn guys and there's no good music in this generation. I've never been one of those kind of things, because you always have to move forward. Yeah. But cats better embrace this and really learn how to use it to your advantage, because it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get better. Yeah. And that's how I look at life. Change is the only thing that's constant and inevitable, as I said earlier. And AI is here. Yeah. What you gonna do? I just really wish that, and I'm encouraged because there's a lot of young artists out, and not just in the pop realm. There's classical artists, there's blues artists, there's folk artists, there's all these artists that really care about excellence and really care about putting the time in on their instrument or their voice, really care about the craft of songwriting, really care about that and really are doing it out here. I'm encouraged when I work with the Larkin Poes of the world. Oh yeah. Lucius, that group, they were amazing. But yeah, there's these young artists that are coming up. There's a young classical kid that I mentored since he was 8. He's now at Juilliard, thriving. He just came in second at a big piano competition recently for, I think it was Cincinnati Pops Orchestra. Amazing. He's killing it. Young black kid from the south side of Chicago like me.
What's his name?
His name is Joshua Moon.
Joshua Moon. Look out for him. Absolutely.
He's still at Juilliard, but he's going to come out. He's coming.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much talent, and these kids are getting better and better and better and better.
Man.
It's incredible. And the amount of, prodigies or whatever you want to call them, just
Josh
super
did
talented.
Rock 2 at this competition.
Yeah.
Rachmaninoff.
Wow.
2 at this competition. He was playing Beethoven and Liszt at 8.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's insane. And so I'm encouraged by all of this that's coming, and all these people that are coming up. And I wish they would get more of the shine than a lot of the popular people. And this is not to say, once again, I'm not this dude, like, get off my lawn, there's no good music. There's a lot of music, but then there's also a lot of trash.
Yeah, of course.
Like, let's be real.
The more output there is, the more trash there is in general. The lower the bar gets, the easier the barrier to entry is.
I mean, dude, since we've been sitting here talking, how much has been uploaded?
Oh man, I'm at least 5,000 songs.
At least 5,000.
Yeah.
Like so how are you going to get through to, like, so I used to do this thing I used to speak at panels and stuff when there were brick and mortar stores. You and I were talking off camera about Tower Records.
Yeah.
And so I used to tell, the young students or, young musicians or writers or whatever they were in these panels, and especially the artists, I was like, do me a favor, do this. When there were brick and mortar stores, go to Tower Records or Virgin Records or whatever record store you like. Don't even go in. Just stand at the front. Just open the door and stand in the front and look at all the product that's in there. Now, me as a consumer, what's going to make me come in the store, find you as an artist, listen to you if they have a kiosk that we can listen to or not, or just look at your album cover, look at credits, and maybe take it home to take a chance on listening to. Like, what's going to make me sift through all of that to find you? And how can I? Well, whatever time I got, you and I, we spent hours in record stores, but
absolutely.
But maybe I can't that day. Maybe I have a session or something. I just want to go pick up something. So I literally got a half hour or not. However long the line is, I'm just going to go in and grab this record, which is usually vinyl. It's something old that I want to have. Yeah. But I'm going to grab, I don't have time to see you.
Yeah.
I don't have time to seek you out. I don't have time to, so what's going to make me do that? It's the same now, but even worse.
It's endless.
It's endless.
Yeah.
And even if you managed to get on one of these DSPs and you get on a playlist, if you're not in the first 20, I'll even give you that much. At 22 to 25 to 100, who's listening to 78?
Yeah. All right, here's a question for you. Because so you have been around your whole life. Some of the biggest people to ever be on this planet, right? Mm-hmm. Like Gaga is going to continue to grow, but you had, even just thinking about Michael Jackson and Michelle Obama, right? Like, let alone the Quincy's and the Madonnas. We haven't even talked about you and Madonna. Like, there's we could talk for 25 hours right now, but it's hard to think of these superstars as humans, right? And you have been able to humanize the Obamas and Michael Jackson and these people, and you've worked with, and now all the way now to the present day, the Larkin Poes and these people that are building real careers right now. And so what do you think does it? What makes these humans different than all other humans?
Great question. The through line to what makes them different for me, one I mentioned earlier, attention to detail. 2, drive. They all have crazy drive, all of them. 3, they absolutely authentically love music. They just love what they do. Or they love whatever it is that they do, especially like in Misha's example for her. She laid it out in her book, Becoming, of how she became who she is. But she always had a drive to be great at whatever, if it was journalism class that we both shared or whatever it was, she always wanted to be great at it. And they authentically, I like authenticity is the thing for me. Not trying to be like somebody else, but just trying to be the best themselves that they can be. That makes sense. Yeah. So the through line to all of them is detail, drive, and authenticity. And then just never giving up. Everything you do is mindset. Yeah. Either you believe you can do something or you don't. Yeah. And either way, you're going to be right. Yeah. That's the through line. We didn't talk much about Madonna, and I won't. But I spent 9 years with her. Yeah. As her music director, and the thing that I saw up close and personal with her is her work ethic. Crazy. It's crazy. When I first started with her, we had a show that we did. It was called The Girly Show, and it was at least a 2-hour show, if I remember. And we would do that show 3 times a day in America. Oh my God. with very little break.
That's crazy.
And with notes. So, and and full out, no marking was her direction. No marking. Let's go.
No marking.
No marking, meaning you can't just like, you got to go full out with your dance steps. You got to go full out with whatever music thing you're doing. You can't just be up there like playing and reading. Like you got to be like, she wants to see the energy.
Yeah.
You know, not only just because they're filming it and all of that, but she wants to feel it as she's performing.
She has set the bar here, and she wants set the bar everyone
and
there.
She would listen to herself. Like she was not marking. She was not. She would go full out. She's setting
the example. You got to match that.
You got to match that.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's what it took.
Wow.
That's exactly what it took. It takes that full. Gaga's the same way. J-Lo was the same way. J-Lo will outwork you. I mean, Kobe used to say it all the time. You're not gonna outwork me.
Yeah.
I don't understand lazy people. I don't understand. Like he would say it all the time.
He went to the gym twice as much as everybody else.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Same.
Also, the same thing. After they won one of the championships out of 6 in the middle of one of the three-peats, his trainer or somebody was like, MJ was up the next day after they celebrated.
Straight to the gym.
Straight to the gym.
Yeah.
Straight to the gym.
I know. It's so inspiring.
And that's what I see from all these people.
Yeah.
All these people. And the younger ones are curious. They want to know what it takes to get there. They want to know what to do. They want to know how to do that. And I love that. And those are the ones I go to, and those are the ones I try to nurture and then give them whatever I know. I've been in this business a very long time now.
Right.
Decades now.
Yeah.
And so I give them whatever I know. And tell them how to go about it and what the pathway. So those are the main things that I see.
Why don't you talk about Madonna that much?
It's not a purposeful thing. I just don't. It's so many people that I don't talk about. I was D'Angelo's music director.
Whoa, when was that?
when he first started, and he didn't need one. He didn't even really need me then. So
he seems like a natural music director.
He's totally natural. Like, so his manager at the time, Kedar Massenberg, called me, and I was living in New York at the time. This was when was this? It's like 93-ish, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Whenever he started. This was like right around the time I had started with Madonna, actually. It was right around that time. I forget exact dates. But Kedar called me. It's like, I got this young artist, man. You're going to love him and blah, blah, blah. He needs help putting a show together. And I'm really new because we're going to do a showcase at the Supper Club. It was a famous. It wasn't really a showcase. It was because he was signed, and he had a record coming out. But they wanted to present it the right way, not like
I understand. Yeah.
So I get down there, and it's D'Angelo, and he's playing. Man, I hadn't heard the record or anything, so he was playing.
This before Voodoo. Before
Voodoo.
Wow.
This was Brown Sugar. All of that.
Yeah.
Shit down, motherfucker, all of that. Like it was all of that, right? And so I put a band together and we rehearsed, and I was crazy because what was so funny about D'Angelo then is like I could not get him to get up from that damn keyboard. Like he would just sit there and he was killing it, and he had this little Insonic thing that he programmed to have those specific sounds that he had on the record, and like he would do that, and he was getting on there, and then he was very hands-on because we did some Issac Hayes, we did some Smokey Robinson, like we incorporated all these old jams into his things and as transitions and all these things we did together. And then we did the show. This was the famous show that they said that Prince was there and they turned him down. He couldn't get in.
Wow.
And all of that. It was packed. It was packed. And he killed that night. He killed it. But when I first heard it, I called Kedar back. I said, dude, you know he's about to change the business.
Yeah.
He's about to change the industry right now. You know this, right? Because I had never heard anybody like that.
Yeah.
Like with the old school, but then this still new burgeoning hip hop. It wasn't even called neo soul then. It was just this thing that D started.
It's D'Angelo.
It's
Yeah.
D'Angelo.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just his thing. He's very, he's very gospely, but not. He's very bluesy, but not. He's very jazzy, but not. It's this whole mix of him and how he saw the world in that time of hip hop. And so, I very rarely talk about that. I mean, it was brief because I only did that first record, and then he just went on. And I was out with somebody. It probably was Madonna. And when I saw him, the video with his shirt off, and everybody was going crazy, I was just like,
Got him off the keys.
he's off the keys now.
He's off the keys.
And I saw him, after that, he would laugh at it because he just, but he didn't necessarily need me as a music director. He already knew what he wanted to do. I just needed to help him shape it.
Yeah.
I just needed him to get his vision out.
So I want to keep going on this, but like, where are we going, bro? Like, you've seen artists in their beginning of their careers to superstars at the end of their careers. You've watched it go from like, the racks to the laptops to the like where are we at in 5 years?
Oh man.
Where's live music? I recorded. I'm not so there's enough going on there. Where's live music in 5 years?
Oh my gosh.
From a music director perspective, from that.
That's a great question. So like a quick aside from that, you meant so when I was out with Whitney, it was
Whitney Houston.
I started.
God, we didn't talk about Whitney Houston.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have to talk long about Nip, but when I was out with Nip, this is 90. Like I started with her like late 90, so 90, all of 91 when we were on tour. I'm Your Baby Tonight was the name of that tour. And all the guys in the band had studios, right? Because we were out for a long time, like all around the world. And the roadie guys would be mad at us because they would have to carry in all these big cases, and everybody had like MPCs and computer things and monitor, like all and speakers and like this big. Now you got a studio in your hand, like. So we went from there to like literally when I go do Vegas with Gaga and I'm in my room, I literally have everything like on a laptop. Like it's so easy now. So where we're gonna go live music, we're only gonna listen. This is what I say. We're only gonna go as far as audiences take you. Meaning, if they demand real human being artistry and real playing and real musicianship and real all of that, that's what's going to stay. If they get lulled into accepting less and less and less and less, meaning having a hologram on stage that's all pre-recorded music and you pay, hard on ticket money to go see that, then that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
The audience is, and people don't understand that they have the power over all of this stuff. If you don't like news organizations and stuff, stop watching them.
Yeah.
They will find out soon enough that they need to change their programming.
Yes.
Somehow, like whatever it is, you have the power. So the audiences will take us where we need to go live. I'm hoping that all the young artists coming up still care about learning an instrument, still care about actually learning how to warm your voice up before the show, cooling down, like knowing that you need to rest, knowing that you need to be on vocal rest, like all these things. I'm hoping that they learn it, and you can sing without Melodyne, you can sing with auto-tune, even live. That's happening now. And so I'm hoping that's where it goes, but I don't know. Like AI is here, and what's happened is you don't know what you don't know, meaning the kids that are coming up, they don't know if you haven't experienced live music. I was in the studio recently and I was talking to some engineers. He's like, yeah, I have interns that have never mic'd live drums before.
That's crazy.
Dude,
they're just going doof, doof.
Yes, they have never mic'd live drums. And so
that
you
is
can't
insane.
even, as a drummer, you can't even imagine that.
No, I can't.
And me coming up in studios the way I did and the business the way I did, I can't imagine that. And so I don't ever see a time where this, I hope we don't get to this, like, musicians are data input people. Like you just like,
I think we're always going to have concerts with humans. Humans want to see humans emote.
I hope so, man.
Yeah. I don't see that going away. I think there will always be we as ticket buying humans will want to see humans playing sports and humans playing music.
Yes.
And humans making food. There will be novelty things that come out that are, hologram artists are already happening. There's one playing Coachella this weekend.
For one of Gaga's tours that I did, we had one open for us. And they were quite popular.
Yeah.
Quite popular.
That's going to happen,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be the norm. It's going to be novelty, I think.
Okay.
Same with like robot chefs, or there's going to be robot battle sports. And that'll be like, holy shit. And we'll like see that for a moment and be like, dude, that was crazy. But then we're going to be like, man, we're like barbaric humans that want to see, we're going to go back to 2,000 years ago.
With clubs. And,
we're going to have a coliseum and just be like, yeah.
All of that.
You can't kill the robot. Someone must be able to die. I want to see. It's like, I think that humans are always going to want to see humans emote.
Yeah, but it's funny.
And we're going to congregate.
But we have to be careful as musicians.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and sometimes I get in trouble when I say this, and I don't mean it for every artist, but I feel like the humanity is being taken away from the music. So for instance, the reason I like the 80s so much, still one of my favorite eras of music, is because we had the technology then. All of that was there. All the synthesizers and all the drum machines and all of that. But it was still being programmed and played by humans.
Yep.
And so the hybrid of all of that.
The hybrid was real in the 80s.
It was still real, man. And so now, just because it can be perfect, that's where they go. Everything is quantized.
Yeah.
Everything is quantized. And the thing that used to be real on the track, the voice, is not real anymore. So everything is melodized. Everything is auto-tuned. Everything is perfectly lined up on a grid. Everything is, so you still have a human singing, but does it sound like the same human voice? Is it moving the same vibrations and energy and air? Is it the same thing? No, it's the ones and zeros have been laced on top of it.
Yep.
So now that even feels robotic and computer. Now it's a sound that you can't go out with. And a lot of the artists who do sing live with it, I understand, because what has happened now is if you're live and they got their phones up and they're doing that one bad note and you go viral and everybody's mad at you, and it's like, for real?
Yeah,
like
no,
they
fuck
say
that.
flat, like, really? Can they not be human?
Let's go real quick. We got to go to a human that cannot go flat, which was Whitney Houston. Did you have any, like, because man, you as a pianist, as a keyboard player, you got to play keys with Whitney Houston.
I love talking to you. You somebody who actually knows this. Yes.
Like, you got to play a note and look at Whitney and have Whitney sing on top of your note.
In her heyday.
Yeah.
When she was Whitney. So
what was that like?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, we could talk for 25 hours on it, and I won't.
I don't even think we have batteries for that.
Yeah, I'll say this one real quick, because Nip's gig came at a time when I really needed some change in my life.
What is Nip? I didn't know this.
So Nip, her nickname was Nippy, that her father gave her, and I think the story goes that it used to be this like chocolate candy that like it was called Nips or something like that. So I always shorten it and just call her Nip.
That's cute.
And so,
so sorry to interrupt. But
no. And a lot of people don't know. So I would call her Nip. And so Nip, I used to call her something else, but that's another long story too. But she loved, by the way. It's a whole lot, because she was real family oriented. So we all felt like family with her. She was still young when I worked with her, and she was on top of the world. This is right after she did the Super Bowl anthem and all of that. So I was with her right when all that was happening. We were at the we were down there, like all of that. But one night, and it was me and the other keyboard player was Bet Sussman, amazing keyboard player from New York. And Ricky Lawson was playing drums, and, just a stellar band, right? Yeah. We used to do, her popular songs and liturgical songs, church songs sometimes too. And I remember one night, and I tell the story sometimes, and I'll save it for the book, but I'll tell it here.
Come on.
I'll tell it here. So we were playing, and she liked white, like the color white. Like she would like to wear white a lot, and she had a white car. one of her houses was white. Like she liked that look, that clean look. So she was in white this night, I remember. And I don't remember all the concerts because we were everywhere. Like we played all these towns that never even get to see these type of acts.
Wow.
Like, we played like Pennsylvania and like all these like little places and these sheds and all these things. It was great.
Yeah.
We were young and just having fun, making a lot of money, all that. But we played this song, and it's called In Return one night. And I'm playing, and me and Beth, we're playing. And a lot of times, like I would start Saving All My Love for You. I would start that, and like all these things. But this song we were playing, and I'm listening to her, and I'm feeling her, and we're just emoting and making the audience feel good, moving souls. And I start crying.
Wow. Because
it's so moving, and it's so amazing, and it's like she's killing it. And so then we finished the show. And then, like we always did, we would hang real late after the show and move to the next town. And so I got to see her afterwards. I was like, Nip, after we changed and all that, I said, Nip, you made me cry tonight. She's like, oh, really? I did? And I'm sure some of the other guys were misty or they probably wouldn't admit it, but I definitely was crying.
Yeah.
And that's the first time it happened, and it has never happened since.
Wow.
And she said to me, I was like, you did that on purpose, didn't you? She was like, she started smiling and like a little smirky. And she goes, sometimes I got to remind y'all that I'm Whitney.
Oh my God.
And that was that, which let me know she could do that anytime she wanted to. She could just put that on command.
What is that touch that she has?
She could just, once again, it was just like MJ. Some of these artists, like the question you asked me, some of them just have this otherworldly thing.
It's otherworldly, absolutely.
That you cannot put a thing on.
It's like they have access to this other dimension that they can like open up for you. They got
this other portal and this other timeline that they can get on, and this other vibration, this other frequency that's higher than what we're experiencing. And they can just access it anytime that they want.
And they all can't last on the planet.
Listen, it's funny that you say that. When all these things were happening, and when Nip passed, it hit me. I was at the funeral. I went and I was invited, and I went. When I found out that she passed, I was a trustee in the Grammys at the time. We were at a Grammy event, and Jimmy Jam was sitting in front of me, and I see all these people were like on their phones, and people were getting up and leaving the event, and I was just like, then Jimmy got up and went, and I'm like, what's going on? I didn't have my phone on me or something, and then I came, and Jimmy came back in. I said, Jimmy, what's going on? Everybody's getting in. So he whispered to me that Nip had passed, and I was like, get out of here, because I was going to the Clive party that night, and the night before I was at Music Air's event, and Nip was singing somewhere with Kelly Price, I think, had a something, and Nip was going to be there, and I was like, I was going to go and try to say hi to her because I hadn't seen her in a while, and I was like, I'm gonna see her at Clive's party, and so I waited because I was tired from the Music Air's event, and then I didn't get it. Once again, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And so when she passed, it hit me so hard. Yeah. Because once again, when I got Nip's gig, it was at a time where I really needed something good to happen in my life. And so wow. Yeah, but she just could tap that anytime she wanted to. Like it was just extraordinary. There's a little clip somewhere on YouTube, I'm sure, when we were doing Saturday Night Live one time. And I'm silly, so I just started playing Sweet Thing, Chaka, also from Chicago. Mm-hmm. And Nip just jumped in and just started singing it. The backgrounds, of course, the band knows it. And we're singing it. Somebody filmed it, and they have it out. And she's just like singing it. And then we go to the modulation. She's on top. Just like, it's like the most amazing thing, like to sing, like to hear Whitney sing somebody else's song.
Wow.
To sing,
and she's like modulate anywhere.
whatever, especially at that time in her life, and with that voice she had,
craziest voice ever.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
All right, man, final question. I know we're running low on battery. We're also talking for days.
It's been fun.
You're on a deserted island. You got your keys there.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing that's there is a drum set. Who's the drummer?
Oh my gosh. This is gonna sound really crazy, but I've been working with him the last couple of years on this event in New York at the Beacon. Steve Gadd.
Steve Gadd.
And
nice.
Here's the reason why. It could be. I know so many amazing drummers.
I know. That's why I had to ask. I know it's kind of a.
I mean, this. There's certain eras in my life. Like there's a Dennis Chambers era in my life.
What?
There's an Omar Hakim era in my life.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of eras we have not talked about. I
mean, of course, Ricky. Of course, Sugarfoot. Of course, like, oh my God.
The Letterman Band.
Oh yeah, with Anton.
With Anton Fig. I used to sub for Paul Schaefer.
Really?
We could talk for 25 years.
I don't have
Paul Schaefer, whenever he couldn't make it on the show, if there was a holiday, a Jewish holiday or something or whatever it was, they would call me. And the reason they called me the first time was I was working on The Cosby Show. And Bill Cosby was a guest host when David had gone down with like a heart thing or something. So he had a lot of guest hosts for one period. And I was working with Bill Cosby at that time. And then he asked us to play some of the band to play on the show with him. And so I did. And Paul really liked what I did. He was like, well, I don't play when David's not here. You want to just come in and sub? I was like, don't play with me, Paul Schaefer. And so I subbed for Paul like 7 years off and on that show. They would just call me.
Would you banter? Would you get to do any of the banter?
David got comfortable with me. I wouldn't do that though. I wouldn't do that. That was, you had to leave that for Paul. That was Paul's banter.
I respect that.
The only banter
I'd be like, give me the mic. I'm going to banter.
The only banter I got to do was when I was George Lopez's band director for the Lopez Tonight Show. So there's many drummers that I work with. There's Rodney Holmes era in my life. There's so many cats. But Steve just encompasses a lot of what I grew up with. He can play every style.
Yeah.
And he just makes it feel a certain type of way once he starts playing.
Amazing. What's he like as a guy? I don't know. I never met Steve Gadd.
What's that?
I never met Steve Gadd.
You never met Steve?
Yeah, man. I got to meet Steve.
We got to make that happen.
Please.
No, he's great. So, and I may share this on my social media. We were in between something on the show that I was doing, and I just started playing just the two of us, which he actually was the original drummer on. And so the first year I started doing this show, I started playing Asia because I just want him to go into that part. Dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
I just want to play it out with him one time in my life. He will never bite. He never bites.
Really?
He never bites. He never bites. And Will Lee, who MDs the show, he said, man, you should have been here last year because we actually played it with Donald Fagen. I was like, damn it, I missed it. But so when I started playing just the two of us, he actually played.
That's awesome.
And so we're playing it and we're just like, oh shit, I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe Steve Gadd is playing this with
There's the record.
The actual original dude on the record. But Steve, he's an amazing dude. He lives in Vegas with his wife.
That's all. Well, please introduce us.
We got to make that happen. He's a great guy. A great guy.
We're out of time, unfortunately. This is it. Michael Bearden, thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you.
You're the man, bro.
Thank you.
Great to hang out with you.
Oh, this is great. We definitely have to do a part 2. It may not come this year, but we'll do a part 2.
You get the book out, then we'll do the part 2 to promote the book.
There you go.
Let's get it.
That
Michael Bearden,
Go with the
the greatest to do it. Let's go.
Thank you.